Vanakkam, Auntie Karthika. It is such a joy to be able to connect with you again after many years. You are really very, very respected South African vocalist, and it's going to give me great joy today to interview you on my program, Talk 10 with Mahen. Thank you so much for making the time, Auntie Karthika.
Sai Ram Mahenthri, I'm so thrilled that you have actually offered to do this interview. Came as a total surprise, but thank you for that. And Sai Ram to you.
So, Auntie Karthika, I'm very well aware that your interest in singing and in music started very early. You were blessed to be in a family that enjoyed and appreciated music. Your mum, the late Adi Lakshmi, used to play beautiful songs on the gramophone back in the day. Can you talk a little bit about that time?
Memories of my late mother come flooding back now. She was a great, great influence in my life. From the age of 4, I could remember listening to M.S. Subbalakshmi, D.K. Pattamal, N.C. Vasanta Kogilam, and people like that. And I used to listen and was enthralled. Mother was a singer herself. She used to sing quite well. And in the mornings, I remember waking up to listening to her sing Kaveri Sindhus.
We are all so much in awe that a South African was able to actually be under the tutelage of the great master, Sri Chembe Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar. Now, I know that you went to Madras, I think in the year 1961. Can you share those thoughts?
I'll be quite happy to share this with you. I still could not believe. Undoubtedly, I had a great blessing to be a student of Sri Chembe Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar. It all happened when I met Mr. Ramalingam, who was living in Madras in Mylapore at that time. I told him, my whole trip to India was to be under a good tutor because I was very interested in Carnatic music and I would like to train my voice. So he told me, you don't have to look and go far, he said. Just a short walk away from Mylapore, Santom, and there is Chembe Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar who lives there. And he's one of the top singers in this country. And I think you should see him. I said, if he is a great man, I don't know whether he will accept little me, a non-entity who's come from South Africa. I don't know whether I'll be fortunate to say that he'd agreed to tutor me. He said, we can try. I know his house. I can take you there. So this is how we went to his house, and his son-in-law, who spoke very fluent English, talked to me in English and asked me about myself. And then he was translating it all in Tamil to Chembe to say that I've come from South Africa and that I was keen to learn Carnatic music. And he said, there are so many people over here, Chembe said. Why have you left all these great singers here and chosen me to help you? I said, I've heard of you. I said, I would think it a great honor to have you as my guru. While we were talking, he said to his son-in-law, bring that Panjangam here. When he said, bring the Panjangam, I thought to myself, I'm now accepted as a student. I almost shed tears of joy when I heard this from him. And he told me a few days later, on a day that he chose, that I must come for the first lesson. That is the start of my relationship with famous, great human being, one of the greatest singers that India has produced. I was truly blessed. Chembe used to sit and I was at his feet. The first lesson I learned was humility from a great man like Chembe. When I touched his feet to take his Pada Namaskaram, he lifted my hands up and said, go to that picture there. That's Guruvayurappan. He says, take his blessings, touch his feet, not mine, he said. How humble was that? That's the first lesson I learned was humility from a great man like Chembe.
That is so beautiful to hear, Auntie Karthika. How did you feel? Were you scared to learn from someone as knowledgeable as the Master Sri Chembe Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar?
That was truly an unforgettable experience. And when he started me off with the lessons. There were two other students he had. One was T.V. Gopalakrishnan. So we three students of Pechembe's, the mridangam, the violinist, and myself, we used to have lessons together. While we were having our lessons, people from the All India radio artists, all the top musicians, singers, they used to come into Chembe's home. And he would proudly show me off to them and say, she's come all the way from South Africa to study Carnatic music under me. And I was so terribly nervous when he used to tell me to show them some of my lessons. First Kirtana was Vatapi Ganapati. And when I learned to sing Vatapi, he asked all these people to listen to me and see what they make of me. I was so nervous, I cannot tell you. I used to be so terrified. I was in awe of all the people around me because I met all the top singers. And then I heard about Palgat Mani Iyer, whom Chembe also tutored on the mridangam. I just think to myself, how fortunate was I?
Sri Chembe Vaidyanatha Bhagavathar was conferred the very prestigious Padma Bhushan Award. Another famous student of Chembe Vaidyanatha Bhagavathar was Dr. K.J. Yesudas himself. And we all love his beautiful voice. I am told that you, together with Dr. K.J. Yesudas, you were both asked to sing at a ceremony that was held to commemorate this receiving of the Padma Bhushan Award.
It was in December 1973 in Manivale. My late husband and I were holidaying in India. And when we reached Madras, of course, one of the first persons I went to see was naturally my Guru Chembe. When we went to see him, he said that he was going to be the recipient of the most prestigious award, the Padma Bhushan Award. And he said, you came at the right time because I want you to be there. Not only is your presence required, but you'll have to sing as my student from South Africa. And I was so nervous because I knew that he's going to have all the most well-known singers in India at the function. But I couldn't say no because it's Chembe himself who said I should sing. So when we went over to the Mylapore Fine Arts, when I went onto stage, there was Dr. K.J. Yesudas. We greeted each other. He had heard from Chembe himself that I was his student from South Africa. So I said to him, please, you go before me. You sing before me. He said, no, he said. This is what Yesudas told me. He said, you go first. I'll follow you. I'll come after you. And that is how I went onto the stage and I sang. And I could see Chembe beaming, smiling, enthralled with my singing. I was happy that I've made the grade. I think I've passed. Chembe had a mound of garlands. He was garlanded by all the great musicians and singers on this occasion when he received the award. And he took one of his garlands from around his neck and he said, you deserve the garland because you sang well. How enthralled was I to receive that kind of blessing and that kind of an acknowledgement from Chembe himself. The people of Mylapore came to me and said, you really sang beautifully. So I then realized I've passed the test. I told myself, you've passed the test.
Congratulations, Auntie Karthigah. It's so heartwarming to hear these wonderful experiences from you. It's so inspirational to young artists to hear this from a seasoned singer like yourself. I think you were also very, very blessed to have lived with a soulmate. I'm referring to your late husband, the barrister Judge Manivale Moodley. How did he support you in your music career?
I was very fortunate in having Manivale as my husband. He was a remarkable man. He enjoyed music. He was a rasika. He encouraged me.
You've lived in various countries, in different continents actually. Now, I know life's journey has taken you to Zambia, to Zimbabwe, to London, and of course, a large amount of time spent in South Africa. Now, Tell us about the events in Lusaka. I know that you were an artist that performed for receptions and various important gatherings held by the Indian High Commission in Lusaka. And one that comes to mind, which is a super special performance, was when you were asked to sing on the occasion of the state visit of the Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi. Can you share this lovely experience?
It was a great honor for me to have been asked to sing on that occasion. I was sitting just a few feet away from where Mrs. Indira Gandhi was seated. I was asked by the Indian High Commissioner to sing a Meera Bhajan, More to Giridhara Gopala. And she showed great appreciation for my singing. It was a very large gathering of about 7,000 people. I was very fortunate that I was called up by the Indian High Commissioner to sing to our Prime Minister from India. That was in 1976. And not long after that, I also sang for the President of India, Mr. V.V. Giri, who was on a state visit. And I was asked to sing Nagu Momo for him. He enjoyed Swami Tyagaraja Kirtana. It was a great honor and pleasure for me to do that on both occasions.
I'd like to now talk about something that is really spiritually important to you. I know that you are a great devotee of Sri Satya Sai Baba of Prashanthi Nilayam. Tell us about your desire to offer your music at the feet of Baba.
My husband Manivel also played a very important role in my life. It was he who brought Swami into our lives. He became the first Sai devotee in our household. In December 1980, we became Sai followers. I became a devotee when I got to know more about Swami, or Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. He had touched our lives, and he's been with us since then, since 1980. When we became Sai devotees, knowing me as a singer, the group asked me to become their bhajan convener and tutor them in bhajans. But I had to first learn Sai bhajans myself, because until then, I was a classical singer. I didn't really know many Sai bhajans. That was a new experience for me, because I had to learn Sai bhajans. Then I had to tutor them and become their first bhajan convener in Indola. And from there, when we went to Zimbabwe, I became a Sai convener as well again. And Swami had put me into a spot when we went to Zimbabwe. There was no Sai group, and I had to start it off. So we started it off with 2 families. I held bhajans every Thursday. In 1985, the first cassette on Sai bhajans was brought out by Mr. M.C. Reddy of Durban, Unit 9. And it was blessed by Swami and released and very well accepted. Pragladan Singaram comes to mind. He played the tabla for the recording of that particular cassette. There was another CD and cassette that was brought out in 2001. I was very, very now involved with Sai bhajans. In fact, in Durban, I had a few bhajan workshops as well. This was something new that Swami put on my plate, which I had to accept with great humility and guidance from him. When we left Zimbabwe, the group had grown into 200 people from just 2 families, all by Swami's blessings.
You were also very blessed to spend quality time with the late V. Subya Pillay. That is my father-in-law. He loved to sing the Tyagaraja Bhagavatar songs, and I know that both of you shared some very special musical experiences.
I always remember my dear mama, my youngest uncle. We had always been very close because of our music interests that we shared. In 1953, we were both in a play. It was a Tamil musical play. The whole story was told in music form. It was Ali Arjuna, and he was Arjuna, and I was Queen Ali. We both did our parts, I think, quite well, because we were well received at the Durban City Hall. We sang together. At the very end of the play was Nijama, Idu Nijama, the famous Tyagaraja song that he sang. It brings back very loving, fond memories. He was also a very big influence in my life, together with his sister, my mother. This all stemmed from the Velu Pillay clan, our grandfather, the late Mr. Velu Pillay, who came from Nagarkoil, 7 miles outside of Kanyakumari, and brought the talent and the music along with him. I did come from a family of singers. All my mamas, my uncles, were singers. Uncle Shanmugam, Uncle Bhagavati, and even Uncle Kumarasamy. And not forgetting the youngest of the uncles, Subiya Pillay.
Auntie Karthika, in concluding this interview, when you reflect on your illustrious music career, what inspiration can you offer to young artists today?
First of all, we must remember that we have a very rich heritage and culture. Our music goes back to more than 5,000 years. Still have to maintain it, preserve it. Follow your dream. Never give up. I had this dream, had this passion for music. It's done me so much of good. Whenever I sang, it was always with God in mind. There's divinity, and music takes you closer to God. So enjoy it, appreciate it, value those moments. You'll have peace and tranquility, and let the music live on.
Dear Auntie Karthika, you've made us so happy today. I feel so privileged to have had this special time to chat with you and to take you back down memory lane. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time. You have shared beautiful memories that add so much of color and glamour and prestige to the beautiful landscape of music in South Africa. God bless you with much happiness, with great health and peace, and may Sri Satya Sai Baba continue to support you, guide you, protect you, inspire you, and be the shining light in your life. Thanks also goes to your dear daughter, Suvendri. She has helped us with her time and efforts as well to make this interview possible. God bless you both. Stay well.
Sairam Mahenthri, thanks so much for asking me to do a bit of a tribute to Mom. I am very, very proud of her achievements. I love hearing her stories of India, and in fact, not so long ago, she gave me an account daily of her stories in India and a time when she was studying music there. For her age, she's continued with music until she's been advanced in years. It's only until quite recently that she's given up singing. What I'm particularly proud of her for doing is also doing charitable acts where she's performed for Sai events and rendered her services freely wherever she has been able to. And even until a few years ago, was rendering performances on charitable acts, events for orphans, raising funds for orphans in Kerala. So I'm very, very, very proud of her.